Welcome back to another episode of The Investment Advisor. I'm your host, Matthew Stevenson, in partnership with Dukascopy TV. Remember, money can take care of you, it cannot take care of itself. Today we're going to have a look at the Russian oil and gas giant Lukoil. Yes, that's right, Lukoil, in the news sometimes for good reasons, sometimes for bad, in terms of some of the sanctions that have been applied against the Russian economy. But on the Investment Advisor, we're going to have a look, is this a stock that we think we might want to own? It certainly has a lot of appealing characteristics, and let me go through some of them for you. Well, let's start up by looking at the ADR. You see it's trading at about $45 a share, so that's on the New York Stock Exchange, on global stock exchanges. $45 a share is down. You can see in 2007, just before the crash in 2008, it hit a peak of something like $112 a share. So it's been something of a roller coaster, and I would say in the last, well, certainly in the last 2 years, but certainly in the last 5 years, the flavor of the month in terms of investing in oil stocks has not been to buy Lukoil shares. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants to be partners with Vladimir Putin. Nobody wants to have the ruble as the currency of reference in a corporation. And not many people want to be in a company, say in a Lukoil, that could be subject to some adverse consequences of the international sanctions that have been applied against Russia. That said, Lukoil is a global company. It's in some 40 countries. Yes, it's got oil and gas reserves in Russia for the most part, but those oil and gas reserves are second only to Exxon. And let's look at this. Exxon's market capitalization is, I don't have the exact figure, but let's say it's $300 billion. Lukoil is valued at 1/10 of that, so $34 billion. So you've got a lot of room here valuing reserves. It used to be said that investors drilled for oil on Wall Street, and Lukoil would certainly be a candidate for that. Its price-earnings ratio is 3. That's correct. You heard me correctly. 3 times earnings. So for every you give them $3, they give you $1 of earnings. What's the downside? The downside with Lukoil is what you know. It's in Russia. Russia's been unpredictable of late. You're partners with, not literally with Vladimir Putin, but with the Russian government. Who's to say that there isn't some action taken against foreign shareholders in Lukoil? That could easily happen in the climate of economic warfare. That said, Lukoil trades at 3 times earnings. The ruble is probably undervalued as a currency, and Russia is one of the great oil and gas economies in the world. So I look at the drop in net income. Oil prices have come down, earnings have come down for Lukoil. That said, at 3 times earnings, you're getting a yield of 6-7%. Yes, you're taking Russian risk. Maybe you want to find Lukoil in a Russian fund, but certainly there's money to be made in a global corporation such as this one. That's all the time we have today on The Investment Advisor. I'm your host, Matthew Stevenson, in partnership with Dukascopy TV. Remember, money can take care of you, it cannot take care of itself.